There is something happening in the gaming world. Something that seems to be affecting all of our game time in a mostly negative way. Many of you have likely fallen victim to this, and I know for sure that I have. I'm talking about optimization and efficiency, specifically when it comes to optimization of your gaming time and how you play your chosen game. Many gamers have a limited amount of free time to play, and they don't want to waste even a single moment. However, this overfixation on optimization within a game can begin to damage the gaming experience. I have noticed that my gaming time sometimes feels different in a way that it never used to. I'll boot up a game to play and feel like I'm not doing it properly, or maybe I'm wasting my time if I don't play a certain way. Pair this with the endless opinions of the right way to play you see all over the internet. It is very easy to optimize the fun out of a game. I'm sure you've experienced this. A new game will drop, whatever it may be, and you get excited for it. You download and start playing, and you're having a good time, but you want to learn more about the game and its community. So you start to look up information about the game, and you are now flooded with the seemingly endless supply of walkthroughs, guides, reviews, Reddit threads, YouTube videos, and their comments. Everywhere you look online in the gaming space, you will find all this information about how you are supposed to be playing the game. And before you know it, you are no longer playing the game, you are simply following a formula to optimize your way through it. And once at the end, or end game, you realize you didn't really even enjoy your time getting there because you weren't really playing through the game for yourself. Some people say it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. But if you fall victim to this hyper-optimization problem, you won't enjoy the journey or the destination. First, I want to take you back to a time when hyper-optimization was not really even possible. All these online resources that would shape how you play and think about a game were not there. Judging by viewer analytics, I'm sure most of you remember how this was. When gaming consisted of buying a physical copy, taking it home, and then playing the game for yourself. Having to learn the game by your own experiences. The ability to watch a guide video to quickly fast-track through a section was not really a thing. You played the game for yourself, free from this outside influence. In this era, you would quickly learn which games were your favorite and most fun for you. If you decided to optimize your playthrough further, that would be your own decision, and it would be based on your own experience, not the opinions of other players trying to push their playstyle onto you. Now, let me be clear about one thing. I will concede that there can be value in the optimization of your gaming time or following a specific meta. To some degree, it can be a good thing or a helpful thing. Walkthroughs, guide videos, build crafting, community discussion, all of these things simply existing is not what I'm talking about when I say hyper-optimization problem. For example, some players might look up those guides just for some ideas on how to play or to see if they're headed in the right direction. Some players might even want to share information or opinions about strategies with the intention of helping others and offering guidance, or just to engage with a community. After all, I have made many videos of that nature that probably also feed into this hyper-optimization problem I'm talking about. And here I am now saying how it's such a problem, okay? The irony of the situation is not lost on me. I also understand that optimization and theory crafting is how some players make their fun. So once again, I will concede that there can be value in the optimization of your gaming time. I have just noticed that across many different games, communities can get to a point where they have optimized the fun out of the game, not just for themselves, the longtime dedicated players, but for casual players or new players as well. This could be with many different game mechanics, systems, or features. Things such as character skill builds, equipment loadouts, methods to complete a level, even things like mini-games or achievement points. If it's part of the game, someone has probably figured out an optimal way to get through it. And for the most part, this focus on optimization can optimize the fun out of the game. Probably one of the biggest instances of this hyper-optimization problem comes from players that try to spread this optimization to others. For whatever reason, a large portion of a community has decided that there is a correct way to play and all others must do this too. Those who don't will be treated as lesser and might be subjected to toxic ridicule from others. All of this can be spread by forum posts, Reddit threads or arguments, in-game text or voice chat, even leaving comments on videos or guides that present the game in a way that isn't the exact way they would do things. I've even seen live streams where a streamer is playing a game for the first time and already there are chatters that talk about how the streamer is not playing with a properly optimized build. I've even noticed this behavior on my own videos. People will drop comments going into detail about the slight differences they say are needed, even though many of those changes would be redundant to the majority of players, but even still they continue to press that things can and should be optimized further. I can give an example that I think illustrates this issue of forcing optimization onto the community. I like to play Space Marine 2. In this game there are 3 types of melee weapons: block, balance, and fencing. The difference being the window of time you have to land a parry, with fencing having a large window, balance having a smaller one, and block not being able to parry, just block. That is an oversimplification for the purpose of this video. A lot of players, myself included, prefer fencing simply because they are easier to use, even though block weapons have the potential to be the best since they can put up the best DPS numbers. The community would debate, and still does, at length about which weapons are best and which ones you should and shouldn't use. These debates sometimes getting to the point where players will drop massive essay-long responses in favor of their preferred weapon.
Earlier in the game's lifetime, there was a pretty strong divide between players who favored each weapon type. You would often see arguments from one side complaining about how another weapon type is bad and not worth using for whatever reason. One opinion I remember seeing echoed quite a bit was that fencing was a crutch for bad players who are too lazy to learn the parry system. Many fencing users pick fencing because it just so happens to be easier to use and therefore they have more fun. But then if they try to get involved with the game's community, they'll start to see this discussion about fencing being perceived as lesser, which may lead those players feeling like they need to use a different weapon that they're not comfortable with, ultimately leading to worse performance and having less fun. I'll admit it happened to me. I had a bit of a stretch where I forced myself to try and use balance and block, even though I was more than happy to just stay with fencing. Feeling pressured to use a different weapon type you aren't comfortable with might even make the game feel stressful, as you try to keep up with what the community perceives to be the correct way to play. However, if a game is no longer fun and is stressful to play, you're not likely to play at all. Now, I will give credit, the Space Marine 2 community has improved and become much more accepting when it comes to picking melee weapons, especially after things were reworked to interact with each weapon type a lot better.
This whole thing, of course, is not exclusive to Space Marine 2. It happens all across several different games. I have seen communities behave this way for Space Marine 2, Marvel Rivals, Guild Wars 2, Elder Scrolls Online, Helldivers 2, Elden Ring, the list goes on. Pretty much any game that offers the ability to customize your playstyle or interact with others, which in recent years are features that are offered by pretty much every game in some capacity. Most of the time, when players have gone the lengths to learn the optimal way to play or do things, they have done so by spending lots of time researching and testing. This could be across multiple playthroughs, hundreds if not thousands of playtime hours. This might lead them to develop a bit of an ego about the specific game, or maybe we'll just call it passion to be a bit more polite. When you have this passion, you probably don't want to see it go to waste or feel like it's invalidated. So a potential source of validation could be pushing this optimization you have developed onto other players to see it get used or see them rise up to your level. If you get enough of those players in the same community, all echoing the same opinions with similar loud personalities, it will likely begin to negatively affect that game and community. I'm sure you have encountered players before who seem like all they can ever talk about is the meta. What is currently meta? What changes to the meta? How can we optimize the meta even further? Even if someone were to mention a fun playstyle they came up with for themselves, these meta slaves will jump into the comments to point out how this is not meta and it can and should be optimized further, insert long essay response here. But I digress. A lot of what I've said so far is mostly applicable to multiplayer or team-based games. But what about single-player games? This hyper-optimization can happen there as well, but maybe just a different way. I want to use another one of my experiences for an example here. I was going to start a Baldur's Gate 3 campaign with some friends and decided to play as a druid. I wasn't familiar with the druid class, so I wanted to read a bit about it so I would have a basic idea about how to build my character. However, finding a basic druid guide or build was a bit difficult. Everywhere I looked, I found these super min-maxed builds where everything was measured out every single step of the way. These druid builds I found wanted you to start with 2 or 3 levels in a different class before even becoming a druid. All I wanted was to see an example of how someone might build a druid so that I would have a starting idea of how to do it for myself. And instead, all that was available was these excessively try-hard min-maxed builds. The reason I bring up this experience is that I think it's quite relatable. There are many people that want to play through a game for themselves, but they don't necessarily want to go in completely blind. So looking at a quick guide is of interest to them. Like I said before, a little bit of optimization can be a good thing. But this hyper-optimization creeps in again to make it difficult to even learn a little basics about getting yourself started, since a lot of this hyper-optimized content gets pushed to the front since it gets a lot more interaction from these highly active, dedicated players. Now, you may have noticed there is a simple solution for all of this, and that's to ignore what other people say and just be yourself. Which is an obvious solution, I know, but it's not always an easy one to do. I'm sure when you were a little kid growing up, your mom and dad gave you the same advice. Unless they didn't, in which case, I'm sorry to hear that. As humans, sometimes we can't help but worry a little bit about what others think and try to fit in with what we think is the norm and will make others happy with us. A realistic solution to all of this is probably moderation. If you are wanting to be involved in a game's community, take whatever information is fed to you there in moderation. Allow yourself to learn, but also not be controlled by it. Remember that there can be value in the optimization of your game time, but there can also be damage in it as well. Trying to follow the meta too closely or all the time can lead to less fun or even less versatility in a game. An example of that for me is Helldivers 2, which is a game that's generally known for its variety of playstyles and lack of a hard set meta. I, however, found myself reading about loadouts a little too much and followed them exactly to the letter, never deviating even for things that I thought might be interesting to try. And it absolutely made me miss out on having more fun because I was only following what other more experienced players were using. I completely missed out on fun playstyles and unique weapons. I even missed out on what are now some of my favorite guns and stratagems, because I convinced myself they were not worth using since more experienced players also didn't use them. So as I was saying, take everything in moderation when it comes to engaging with optimization from a gaming community. There can be value in following optimization or meta advice, but at times it can lead us to missing out on unique experiences or fun we didn't even know was there. After all, games are supposed to be fun above all. If you are not having fun, you're probably doing something wrong. But I suppose I have rambled on about this for long enough. Please understand that all the examples I brought up in this video are not meant to throw shade at any one community, their game, their members, their creators. That's not what I'm trying to do here. I'm just trying to have a discussion about something that I have noticed happening across many different game communities. All of this, of course, is based on my own personal thoughts and experiences. I'm sure other people may feel differently. I would be interested in reading some thoughts on the matter, just please try to be polite and respectful. Do you think hyper-optimization is damaging to gaming, or am I making a big fuss out of something irrelevant? A giant nothing burger? Maybe. Anyway, that'll be all for this one. If you like the content, consider subscribing or becoming a channel member if you want to go the extra distance. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye for now.